All right, today we are diving into something that sounds straight out of science fiction, living wires. We're talking about a technology that could let us, quite literally, grow our electronics.
I mean, seriously, what if instead of building our electronics in these super sterile labs with all sorts of harsh chemicals, we could just grow them? It sounds wild, I know, but it is way closer to reality than you'd think, all thanks to this amazing field called electromicrobiology.
So, how in the world can we grow electronics? Well, to get our heads around it, our story actually begins somewhere pretty unexpected, deep down in the soil. This is where some incredible little microorganisms have figured out a skill that completely changes how we think about biology and energy.
Okay, meet the star of our show, Geobacter. Now, this is a pretty common bug you'd find in soil, but it has this superpower. It can breathe minerals, like rust, by shooting out these tiny, electrically conductive little hairs made of protein. These are basically nature's own nanowires.
But, there was a catch, a big one. While these little microbial wires were amazing for the bacteria, just trying to live their lives, their conductivity was, it was terrible for what we needed. They just couldn't hold a candle to the synthetic wires that chemists were making in the lab.
So what do you do when nature gives you a great idea that's not quite ready for prime time? You give it a serious upgrade. And that's exactly what scientists did. They decided to go back to the source and re-engineer the bacterium itself to make a much, much better wire.
And here's the aha moment. Scientists figured out that the conductivity had to do with certain building blocks in the protein wires, these things called aromatic amino acids. They had a hunch that one in particular, tryptophan, would be a much better conductor. So they went in and genetically tweaked Geobacter to use more of it.
And the results? They were absolutely staggering. I mean, the new biowires weren't just a little bit better. Their conductivity totally skyrocketed. And get this, as a crazy bonus, the new wires were also half as thick as the natural ones.
Just let that number sink in. 2,000 times more conductive. This wasn't just a small step forward. This was a gigantic leap. It took a cool biological curiosity and turned it into a material that could actually change the world of electronics.
And you can just feel the shock and excitement in this quote from the lead researcher, Dr. Derek Lovely. I mean, they were just hoping to get lucky, maybe double the conductivity if things went well. What they got instead just blew their wildest predictions right out of the water.
And remember, these wires are ridiculously small, just 1.5 nanometers wide. To put that in perspective for you, that is over 60,000 times thinner than a single strand of human hair. You could pack millions of these things into the tiniest of spaces.
Okay, but just as this amazing new technology was taking off, a huge mystery popped up. It was like a scientific whodunit, and it challenged everything researchers thought they knew about how these little living wires actually worked.
The question itself was pretty simple, but the answer turned out to be incredibly profound. What was the real atomic structure of these things? What were they actually made of?
So for over a decade, pretty much everyone was on the same page. The main theory was that these wires were a special kind of bacterial arm called a pili, which they nicknamed E-pili. The idea was that those aromatic amino acids were all stacked up perfectly, letting electrons just zip right through. That was the story for years.
But that's the great thing about science, right? It's always getting better, always refining. And thanks to some huge breakthroughs in technology, a completely new and way more accurate picture was about to emerge that would solve this nanowire mystery once and for all.
The big game changer was a technology called cryo-electron microscopy, or cryo-EM. For the very first time, it allowed researchers to see the atomic structure of these filaments with unbelievable clarity without damaging them, which had been a huge problem with older methods.
And this new tech sparked a huge debate. You had the old pili theory going up against a brand new cytochrome theory. The new evidence from cryo-EM was suggesting the wires weren't pili at all. Instead, they seemed to be made of a totally different protein called cytochrome.
Well, mystery solved. The high-resolution pictures were undeniable. The conductive wires from Geobacter are not pili. They're actually long chains of these cytochrome proteins, with their metal parts, the hemes, stacked up perfectly, just like a roll of coins, forming a perfect, seamless wire for electrons to travel down. Okay, so we've solved the big mystery. But why does any of this matter to you and me? Let's talk about the future, because the implications of being able to grow electronics are, well, they're huge.
The possibilities here are just mind-blowing. Imagine medical sensors inside your body that are perfectly safe because they're made of the same stuff you are, protein. Or what about electronic circuits that can actually repair themselves? Or gadgets that, when you're done with them, are completely biodegradable? This is a whole new world.
And maybe the absolute best part is how sustainable this is. These biowires are made by bacteria in what's basically a simple fermentation tank. You feed them renewable stuff like CO2 or plant waste. This completely gets rid of the need for harsh chemicals and toxic waste from normal electronics manufacturing. It's a truly green technology.
So, here's the ultimate takeaway. We are standing right on the edge of a new materials revolution. This is about so much more than just a new kind of wire. It's about erasing the line between biology and electronics. It's about growing devices that are, in a very real sense, alive. A fundamental shift in how we're going to build our future.